This is Project Red Pill.
So, if you were Neo, would you have taken the red pill or the blue pill? Kind of nice sometimes. Ignorance is bliss, not knowing the truth. Just too curious.
Project Red Pill.
Take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
All right, hey everybody. First, I want to talk about some of the headlines from today, but first I want to talk about polls. Like, it's so frustrating to me that we can't have a clear picture of what's going on. I mean, even if your person is losing or winning, I mean, at least give us an accurate projection of what's going on, because I feel like they just say that it's neck to neck to keep you interested in coming back. But I mean, this presidential election it's getting crazy. I mean, it's been crazy. It's not getting crazy. It's already gotten crazy. So I'm curious to see what happens next. I voted yesterday, but every article that I read, every mainstream type of thing, it's neck and neck, neck and neck. So I find that to be interesting. I did a poll and it was very skewed. I've seen other polls, like private polls that people put out there, whether it's on LinkedIn or social media or whatever, and they all seem very skewed. And then I see some projections of some private companies that are not really mainstream. They're very skewed in favor of Trump. And then you see the mainstream media and everybody is neck and neck. That's everybody's consensus. I'm curious to see on election night of like, is mainstream gonna look stupid again, like 2016, just because they get it wrong, or are they able to get a better read than the people in the real world? I don't know, but it's interesting. Do you guys see the same thing? Is it pretty neck and neck on everything? I don't know. Let me know in the comments. By the way, if you haven't subscribed, subscribe, like, share, all that stuff. Hit the little bell there, and it'll let you know when I upload a new video. All right, moving on. What's next? All right, so I found this interesting, that when somebody approaches a topic and all they bring to the argument, debate, is the talking points. There really is no critical thinking. There is no understanding. All they do is regurgitate what they hear in their echo chambers. And I think we all know this and we say it, but I mean, really think about it. And I think that this clip shows a perfect visual of it really happening live. So let's check this out. See what Megyn Kelly says on Bill Maher's show.
Somehow, the world seems to be dividing between the good guy countries, the democratic countries, and these autocracies. And if your guy gets in, we're going to be on the wrong side of this one.
If my guy...
So it's just talking points that you probably heard on MSNBC or CNN, that Trump is a threat to democracy.
I think we'll go back to the time that we had when he was president, which is the only time we didn't start a war and get involved in a war. Putin did not invade Ukraine until Biden took over. We had the disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan, which projected weakness through the world. People understood that we were enfeebled, and that is what was provocative. Weakness is provocative. I feel like Trump destabilized these people. They didn't know what to expect of him. Next thing you know, he's bombing Soleimani. Trump did strategic strikes that had people on their heels. They didn't know what he might do to them.
This is a perfect...
So, yeah, I thought that was great visual of somebody that repeats stuff that they hear and somebody that brings receipts. So, God bless Megyn Kelly. She's great. I think Bill Maher's great too. I actually probably align better with him on most common sense things. I think he does have common sense. He's just got this blind spot when it comes to, one person, not even a party, or belief system or values or principles or ideologies or philosophies. It's really just that one person that he just can't get past. But all right, let's do one more headline and then we'll jump over to the business section because I got something great today for business. It's one of my favorite topics. Let's knock out one more headline here. All right, so Trump did Rogan podcasts, and I watched it. I thought it was pretty good. You know, I think it's interesting that I think the free for all in the political campaigns needs to stop. So here's what I'm proposing, and then I'll get back to Rogan. Both candidates, one, we should whittle it down to two candidates. They both get the exact same amount of money. That will impact who they hire, how they travel, who they go see, and how much they hustle versus how much they can buy. So strategy and hustle would really come into play if they all had this exact same amount of money. And I'm okay with that being tax money funded, provided by the government. I think that would make it fair and less about the billionaires, less about, and nothing against billionaires. I'm trying to be one, but it takes the power away from the few and gives it to the many if they get the same amount of money. So they each get whatever, $50 million or $100 million or $300 million, $500 million or $1 billion. I don't care. But they each get the same. And then it's off to the races. If you don't have the right strategy, sorry about you. If you don't, purchase the right ads in the right spots, okay, sorry. And I think that kind of awareness and being able to manage those funds is even a good qualifier to get in as the president, because you're going to make big decisions with a lot of money. Where should we drive this ship? And if they can't even do it in a campaign, how are they going to do it with a country? So that's my idea. They each get the same amount of money, make it $1 billion, make it 500 million, whatever it is. And then truly strategy and effort will shine through. If you're going on podcasts every day, if you're going on mainstream media every day, where are you placing your ads? So that's my goal. So anyways, I thought that was interesting. What made me think of that was that if Trump did Rogan, Harris should do Rogan. And so maybe there's a set required amount of interviews and podcasts that they have to do. They have to do whoever the top 10 podcasts are, and they have to do the top 10 news stations. Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, CBS, ABC, all the way down to, I don't know who a smaller one is, like OAN News or something. So they do the top 10 news. You have to do at least one primetime interview at all of those. So it's 20 interviews that the country gets to see. And then they are required to sit down with the top 10 podcasts for, the last 12 months, who has the most views currently, or the biggest fan base. They have to do those 10. So we get 20 interviews from each candidate, 10 in mainstream news, 10 in podcasts, and then they each get the same amount of money that they get to spend on ads and personnel and rallies and all that. So, anyways, yeah, that's my idea. But Rogan, I think he did a pretty good job of asking questions. I wish, I understand people want to be respectful of, the guest, but remember, this is your show. I can't remember who said this. It may have been, it was somebody on prime time. Maybe it was like a Tucker Carlson or something. Yeah, it may have been Tucker Carlson on his podcast, but he mentioned that Roger Ailes of Fox News told him to never thank people for coming on your show. Never thank them. This is your show. They need you. Never thank them. Now, that's okay. I get it. But I think that in a situation where it is more important to get answers. Some of the respect and politeness or politically correct behavior can like go out the window. And I wish that Joe Rogan would have pushed Trump more, not in a more aggressive manner, but in a more direct manner. He repeated his question over and over again, but that's not like, hey, okay, stop. You're not answering my question. My question is, can you answer that? And then he tries to do whatever he calls it, the weave or whatever. And then, he goes off on a tangent and then brings it back home. And then, same thing with Vice President Harris. She's asked a question and she gives a off the rails random comment. The Middle East. Well, I was born in a middle-aged or a middle class home. It's just unbelievable. And I don't know if it's just me or other people feel this way too, but I just think it's dishonest. It's not even dishonest. It's it's not genuine. Disingenuous? Whatever that word is. Sorry. I'm from Indiana, so it's a $5 word. It's not very genuine. And it's not very transparent. And maybe some people call that honest or dishonest. But, I think all of them are dishonest. They all lie, whether it's about big stuff or small stuff. Yeah, anyways, I wish that Rogan would have pushed in a more direct manner and said, look, I'm not moving on until I get an answer. And here are the acceptable options. Consider this. And not just Rogan, everybody. Everybody gives him a pass because they want to respect the office or, the fact that he was president or, or because they're limited on time and stuff like that. And I feel like Rogan, tackled the time issue. He just needed to be a little bit more direct and then stay off fighting. He should have stayed off fighting. And that was I enjoy a good UFC conversation, but that's not why I'm tuning in with Trump to hear about, fights and fighters. That's not why people were tuning in. So I wish he would have stayed away from that topic. But overall, I give him an 8 out of 10. He did pretty good. He's the best in the world at it, as far as getting people to relax a little bit. I think you did see a little bit of, Trump's human side, and which I think we're seeing more of now in general. And I don't think it's a strategy. I think it is, he's just getting older, and he's definitely calming down. Slowing down, but he's definitely calming down. And I think that Joe Rogan podcast was probably a very good one for him. As this, the pace and the atmosphere and everything else. I think it was good for him. And I think it would be good for Kamala, Vice President Harris. I think it would be great for her. I think that's probably more her speed. Like, relax. We're not in a hurry to get the answer from you. You don't have to beat around the bush. You don't have to have all these filler word salad stuff. You just don't need it, because we're just chatting. It's not a list of questions. So I think it'd be great if she got on there. Great in the way of people being able to see who she is, right? And whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, time will tell. So I guess jury's still out if she's even gonna, do it. We'll see. All right. Moving on to the business section. I'm so excited because I love this topic. Okay. We are going to be talking about something called float. Now, some people may know what that is. Most people absolutely do not know what that is. Okay. So float is essentially how banks make money, how insurance companies make money. Insurance company is a better example. And that's my world. That's my space. So an insurance company makes money by selling an insurance policy. And let's take workers' compensation, for example, workers' compensation insurance policy. And they charge somebody $1 million, company, $1 million. Company gives insurance company $1 million, and the insurance company holds on to that money until they have to pay out on claims, right? Now, in the state of California, and I think nationwide, actually, workers' compensation makes zero. It makes zero money. Matter of fact, I believe in 2022, I'll fact check myself here and put a headline right here, a news clipping or whatever. But in 2022, workers' compensation carriers lost $22 billion. How do you do that? Matter of fact, workers' compensation has not made money in the last decade, meaning that they have not paid out less than they brought in. Yet, every carrier is eager to write work, even though they don't make any money. It's weird, huh? So I'll tell you why. Actually, before I do that, here's another thing that pitches into this, is that every CEO of an insurance carrier is a Wall Street person, banking people, they're money people. None of them are insurance people. Weird. So, float. My company gives an insurance company $1 million for workers' comp. Anything happens to my employees, they get hurt on the job, you pay for it. Okay? The insurance company takes that money knowing that they are going to pay that back out. But when these workers' comp claims come in, they take a very long time to close. And so at the end of the day, it's a break even. And, all the claims added up end up being about what they take in, give or take, right? Anywhere between, give or take. Let's just say it's a wash for easy math. But while they were holding on to that money, they were able to invest it all. And they make all of these investment dollars while holding on to the money. That is called float. Same thing with a bank. You go and give your money to the bank for free. They don't pay you for it. Matter of fact, they might charge you for it. But you take your money into the bank and just give it to them to hold. And then they give it back later, whenever you ask for it, whenever you need it. But your money is not sitting there. It is working for the bank. They're loaning it out. They're investing it. They're, moving and shaking all your money. It's not sitting in your personal account. They just owe it to you when you do ask for it. And sometimes if you ask for all of it, they say no. And they have to wait a few days or whatever. They have to gobble it up. So that is float. While they're holding on to your money, you make money. So as a brokerage, as an insurance brokerage, here's the peek behind the curtain, the stuff I'm not supposed to say, which is going to be a theme here. I want to teach you guys new things, and giving a peek behind the curtain is a good way to do that. So when an insurance brokerage writes a policy, say it's $1 million work comp policy, sometimes our clients do not pay the carrier directly. They pay the brokerage. And then 30 days later, the brokerage pays the carrier. Whenever the due date is. Due date is 30 days, 45 days, 15 days, whatever. But while they're holding on to that money, they're able to gain float, to earn float, investment income, interest income, whatever. So that is float. So float is a revenue model that's often overlooked. Float income refers to the interest that companies earn by holding on to money before it's paid out, usually from delayed transactions or escrow services. So the delayed transactions means instead of our client paying the carrier directly, they pay us, and then we pay the insurance carrier. Think about it. Whenever a business delays payment, whether to vendors, employees, or customers, that money isn't idle. It's generating interest in short-term investment or bank accounts. Big players like Amazon, PayPal benefit significantly from float income, using it to boost their earnings without adding new products or services. This model provides a low-risk revenue stream and a smart way for businesses to make the most out of their cash flow. So if you're building a business, consider how managing payment timing could help improve your cash flow. And so this was something also that I wanted to do, and this is well, I'm just kind of giving away the farm here, but we have many irons in the fire at New Rain Capital and what we're trying to do. And one thing is that we want to develop this software for vendor payments and carriers paying vendors for doing their work, whether it's court reporters or investigators or copy service or bill review or ancillary services, whatever it is. And there's about 20 verticals of vendors that carriers use. And one huge problem in the vendor space is collections. So what we wanted to do is create an escrow business model where we go to the carriers and we say, all right, here is our investigation estimate or invoice. It's going to be $1,000 or $3,000. The carrier pays it immediately before the job. They pay it, but they pay it to our platform. They pay us $3,000 and we hold that money until the job is complete. When the job is complete and the insurance company signs off on it, we release those funds. But maybe it's a week or two before, the job is required. We're holding on to that money for a week or two. Now, while we're holding on to that money, we're receiving interest from the bank or, whatever account that we have it in. And when the job is complete, the investigation firm gets paid immediately. Now, before, the carrier would receive the invoice after the job is complete. They would look over the report and then they would snooze. They just snooze the invoice. And it comes up at, another week or 2 weeks and snoozed. Or the vendor is sending it to the wrong email or they're mailing it to the wrong place or whatever, right? There's so many factors that go into it. Or the adjuster's just busy. That's the last thing on their stuff. And if you email invoices to people, there's no auditing of that. Sometimes they have a fax that you can send stuff into, and it automatically gets attached to the claim. But anyways, I'm going off on a tangent, and that, my main point is the float. So that escrow service, could be huge, especially if you have, hundreds or thousands of transactions going on at the same time. If you're able to hold that money just for a very short-term period of time, like Amazon does, that's a whopper for that. It's free money. It's free money. Zero overhead in that model. But you can shape it in the way that it can be a win-win for all parties involved. Like our example with our platform is if a carrier pays immediately into escrow, the vendor gets paid immediately. The carrier doesn't have to worry about it later on. They don't have to snooze the stuff. They don't have to receive collection phone calls. They don't have to receive collection emails. They don't have to worry about duplicate requests. It's already paid and done and approved. So I thought that was a good idea. I absolutely love float for several reasons because I do think it can be a win-win. And also I love the lack of overhead required to do the job. Conspiracy theory. Let's go. Let's make a jump to conspiracy theories. All right. I wanted to open up with a good one, okay? So some of you may have never heard of this, but it's called Mel's Hole. So the story roughly, now I might be botching this a little bit, so you can do your own research, but this is how I understood it, is that this guy named Mel in Washington, I believe, Northwest, he bought this home and he was walking the property one day and he saw this hole. And it's like 9 by 9. And he couldn't see the bottom of it in this field. He couldn't see the bottom of it. And one of the neighbors was over yonder and he got his attention. He's like, hey, man, what's this about? And the neighbor was like, yeah, it's weird. We've been throwing our trash in it for years. I was like, okay, well, if you've been throwing your trash in it for years, like we should be able to see like the buildup of it. And he's like, yeah, I don't think it ends. It just keeps going forever. He's like, nah. So he was actually a fisherman. Mel was a fisherman, I believe. and he had the fishing line on him, and I think he had like 150 yards. So he tied a, what does that equal? 15,000. Well, times 3, 45,000 feet, right? So 15,000 yards of string, same deal. Puts a weight at the bottom, so like if it ever hit the bottom, it would start, giving you slack. It never hit the bottom. It's so scary. So anyways, one time, Mel, his dog passed, and he threw it down the hole for whatever reason. A neighbor did, not Mel, a neighbor did. And he said that the next day, the dog was on his porch live, and they were choking back and forth. Like, hey, whenever I, kick the bucket, throw me down there. Maybe I'll come back. So that's crazy. That's crazy. So so I forgot this. Mel, he calls in to this radio station, local radio station, and tells, his story or whatever about this thing on his property. And the next day, I keep saying the next day, I assume it's the next day. The next day, he's pulling up to his property, and the road that goes back to where the hole is blocked by police and, I don't know, men in black. So anyways, he pulls up there, and the guy's like, no, you gotta turn around. You gotta go. You can't come back here. He's like, dude, let me on my property. He said, no, you gotta go. And apparently Mel was into some extracurricular activities when it comes to smoking the reefer, and he had grown his own stuff, I guess. And so ultimately they threatened him. The people right there on the scene threatened him. They said, look, go home. You're not coming back here. If you do, or you refuse, we're going to take you to jail for your plans. So he's like, hey, I'm good. I'll go home. So he went home. And then I believe a few years later, he called into the radio station again, and nothing really come out of it. And his wife, his wife was a professor at some college. So he calls to the college and, tries to get all these scientists or science professors to come check out this hole. And none of them would. That's where the story gets weird to me. Until you have a hole that never ends. Yeah, I want to come look at it. But yeah, none of them would ever come check it out. So I don't know. It's weird. And nobody knows where Mel's hole is today. Anyways, that's one of my favorites. Thanks for joining today. Appreciate it. Remember, subscribe, like, share, comment, all the stuff everybody always says. Smash that like button, hit the bell so you'll know when I post something new. But hey, I'm excited about this. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you've made it this far along the way, I owe you. I owe you one. So I want to hear from you guys. I want to hear what you want to hear about, and then this thing's going to evolve, quite a bit actually. So we're getting a new studio, new equipment, and, there will be a lot of interviews. There'll be, other people with me, but yeah, it should be pretty good. We'll see. But it will ultimately be a media production company. Now it'll start with me doing this, but there's going to be many people having their own thing on our platform. The likes of Valuetainment and the Daily Wire. And I just think that that's the way things are going. And we want to be one of the big 3 or big 10 or big 5 or whatever, that people think of, that are providing you with this news, providing you with these stories, providing you with this education. So it's not just going to be podcasts. It's going to be documentaries. It's going to be film. It's going to be podcasts. Obviously, it's going to be educational courses. It's going to be, a lot of stuff in the beginning, a lot of verticals, and then everything will be a little consolidated and become a platform, subscription-based platform. So that's the idea. And, if you know me, I'm always rooting for you. And I think people know that about me. If you don't know me, I'm rooting for you. Like that's my thing. I want to see people do well. I want to help people do well. So if you ever need help, you ever have a question, please do not hesitate to reach out. I'm like the most approachable person ever, I think. So, thank you very much for joining. I appreciate it. And, I think this should be fun. I'm rooting for you.
Take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.